Hello and good Friday morning, afternoon, whenever you're catching this. Welcome to Boilermaker Lounge. Regular season game 2 coming up tonight. I'm Sam Springer. Grant Flora joins me as always. Grant, got game 2 yet again. Like it keeps getting better. It's 2
Yeah,
weeks, 2 games a week.
I know. Yeah, it's like now it's gonna keep coming pretty steady. Obviously, I
Uh,
think next week let's just have the one game
just
against
the one,
Alabama, but
but it's a big one.
um, yeah, and definitely it comes a little more frequently than like football. So yeah, this gonna be a lot of fun to keep breaking down this team, keep starting now as we get into game 2, and ultimately we're gonna have maybe 40 games this season. So
40 and
just
0,
the
Grant.
very beginning. So
40 and
yeah.
0, Grant.
Hey, if it happens, then yeah, I give you all the credit. So, yeah, but
No,
definitely fun matchup with Oakland tonight.
yeah, well, let's talk about the first matchup on Tuesday night. Purdue takes down the Evansville Purple Aces 82-51. Grant, it started out a little I don't want to say that it started out, kind of scary, but Evansville came out to play right away. That quickly got subdued, but they did start right away pretty well.
Yeah, Evansville was not a bad team at all. We talked in the preview about how it was a little hard to tell what this team was going to bring because they brought in a lot of transfers and just had a lot of turnover from last year when they really weren't that good. Plus, Connor Turnbull didn't end up playing, who was the one guy they did
Right.
bring back that was significant to their
He was
roster. So
defensive player of the year in the conference.
right. So we knew it was going to be tough, but we also talked about some of their transfers and how some guys had some meaningful experience in some high major basketball, including Alex Hemingway, who used to play at Clemson when they went to the Elite Eight. So some of those high major guys stepped in and did a really good job. And Evansville made some plays and definitely had me a little worried the first 10 minutes or so just because they were hanging around and
Right.
exposing some things from Purdue.
Yeah, it was yeah, I mean they and I we made that mention on the post game show reaction with Dustin Shooty. And you kind of get that a lot of small upstart teams or teams that shouldn't have any chance, um a lot of times will have a lot of energy right away and kind of run their best plays to start out the game, and they get some open looks, and they're not that they're not hustling all game long, but they're doing the extra hustle a little bit against a team that number one in the country, and they're doing the extras, and that quickly turns around because then the number one team decides, you know what, it's enough. We're gonna turn it on. Let's do this.
Yeah, and you can attribute part of that probably to the absence of Trey Kaufman-Renn.
Yeah,
This, that was a game time decision. They didn't know for sure they weren't going to have him until right before, and then you have to figure out, okay, how do you play when you're missing your, All-American in the
right.
front court? So part of that could have been the clunkiness of just getting used to playing without TKR, which Jack Benter did a great job coming in and filling
Awesome
that
job.
role. Yeah. But yeah, you could have seen some slow starts because of that. Also, just some jitters, nerves, whatever the case may be. I think there are a lot of different factors that probably played into those opening 10 minutes.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jack Benter. He got the spot start because Trey Kaufman-Renn has a hip injury that it's not. Coach Painter said it's not anything. If we're playing in the Big Ten, probably depending. Well, if it was a big game, he's playing. It's not a major thing, but it's one of those now that you know what, let's let it heal now, and a couple games down the road, or even tonight. I haven't heard yet. We still got a few hours before the list comes out for people that are on either the out. I don't know what the official injury list, I guess, is the best way to put it. That comes out in a few hours. Still, he could probably play tonight. Still, we don't know yet, and we just don't know. We just But Jack Benter, my goodness, he played so hard and so well as a starter that didn't know he was going to start until just a few hours before the game time. Um, it really makes me excited to see what he's got to offer this season.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me a lot of Cam Heide when Cam Heide was kind of at his best. I think Jack Benter brings a few extra things to the table. I don't think he's as athletic as Heide was, but I think overall just a little bit smoother, maybe a little bit more active in some ways, whereas Heide had a tendency to kind of stand in the corner and not be as active, especially like you saw the Benter block. Like that's a play I don't think Cam Heide makes. Not that Cam
I
Howdy
agree.
wasn't a good defender, but that type of play was something that Benter was able to bring to the table. So that's really encouraging, especially to see a backup four that can come in and play those minutes where he's not being relied on to start or be a huge piece this season, but he can come in and supplement and hold his own when he's in the game. So he did a great job. Knocking down 3 threes was huge. We talked about at the exhibition games how some of those guys, especially against Indy, really gained some confidence, I think, with their shooting, with just their overall offensive playmaking by knocking down some shots where we didn't see that comfort against Kentucky. I think we saw that play
Mhm.
out more against Evansville too. Guys like Omer Meyer, Jack Benter for sure, able to step in and knock down some shots that you can just tell they're a little bit more confident than they were early on against Kentucky.
Yeah, well, you talked about Jack Benter, kind of reminding you of Cam Heide. We talked when we were doing the post game response or reaction the other night. I made a comparison to an older school Boilermaker, and Dustin Schutte actually agreed. So I felt, pat myself on the back for that. He reminds me a lot of Brian Cardinal. He really does. Brian Cardinal, not the most athletic or not the most talented player on the court. Definitely not the most athletic player on the court, but he could hit you a big shot. He could get you a big rebound. He could take a charge. He would go on the floor and try to fight for the loose balls in his area, or even not in his area. Multiple times he'd go flying into the stands trying to save a ball going out. It just Jack Benter, a lot of the things that he does appear to me as being Brian Cardinal esque. And if I tell you, if he turns out half as good as Brian Cardinal did, we've got a really special player on our team.
Yeah, and obviously I've heard that name. I know he's a significant part of this program. So yeah, for sure. And Jack Benter being a redshirt freshman has a huge ceiling, and I think he's going to develop throughout this season and obviously take leaps as he continues to progress throughout the Purdue program, which we would expect him to stick around. Obviously, you never know, but he seems like the kind of guy that's ready to do that. So he's one of those pieces when we talk about this Purdue team from a general standpoint with your depth and kind of the different looks Purdue can bring that plays actually a huge part because Purdue now has the ability to go small if they want to, put
Yeah.
TKR at the 5, Jack Benter at the 4. We have a look kind of like what we had last year, except now maybe we're a little bit stronger in those 2, 3, 4 spots. You know, if you play like Yukari or CJ at the 3, or I guess they would be at the 2, Fletcher at the 3, and a guy like Jack Benter at the 4, you can go that route and you have a pretty good look with those 5. You can also keep your normal lineup and slide Jack Benter up to the 3 with Fletch maybe at the 2, Braden at the 1. Like he provides a lot of those different looks, and if he can come in, hold his own, and be a factor when he's in the game, it just makes that a lot easier on Matt Painter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the versatility that lineup has now, especially for Coach Painter that can, come up with some things. Putting Benter at the 3 gives Purdue more height, more length there to where you've got TKR at the 4, Clough or Jacobson at the 5. It just is amazing. And then you've got an athlete or slash sort of hybrid big man sitting at the 3, but yet he can still hit the 3 ball. He can still, he's that human floor burn like Brian Cardinal was. It's pretty exciting. the versatility that he's going to add into potentially to this lineup and the rotation that Matt Painter can put in. Looking at the stats from Tuesday, Fletcher Loyer career high 30 in the game, 8 of 11 overall, 7 of 10 from threes. Braden Smith only 6 points, but he had 11 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals, 2 rebounds. He played a game that was really, really solid, and I'm talking about Braden here. Is extremely solid, but yet as quietly solid as you could be.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're an assist-heavy player, it always kind of comes across more quiet than what it would be if you score 30 like Fletcher Loyer. But definitely a good game. I think we talked about this with Dustin, but he easily could have ended up with like 15 points if he knocks down some of the shots that he took. Didn't really take bad shots, just took some shots that he missed, and he's going to make some of those as the season goes on. But yeah, 6 points, the 11 assists was obviously insane. He could have had 15 plus, which was some of the plays he was making, and guys just couldn't convert.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks like he is every bit as good, honestly, as what people thought when he coming into this season. And you look at a guy who's preseason National Player of the Year, basically, and puts up 6 points in his opener against a mid-major, and you're like, are you serious? Like, you look at Koa Pete, who drops 30 in his freshman debut. You look at Braden Smith with 6, and you're like, how are we even considering Braden Smith to be a contender for National Player of the Year? But then you watch him play. You look at the 11 assists and the 1 turnover, and you see how he affects winning. You're like, okay, now the case is kind of made. And that's kind of what we're looking at. And as his scoring numbers increase and his shots start to fall, you're like, what can't this guy do?
Either haters or people that haven't paid attention know that 6 points, 11 assists, and 2 steals and 2 rebounds is a pretty dominant game, especially with the fact that he only turns the ball over once. And that, my friend, was on the opening possession. So he went however many. I have the thing here to see how many minutes he played during the game. He played 30 minutes. So for 29 minutes and probably 40 seconds, he played error-free basketball without turning the ball over. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And think back to his freshman year. Like, he was a good point guard, did a lot of good things. Turnovers were an issue. He had an issue kind of getting caught in the air. He had an issue just with some of the decisions he was making. Like, he had some great moments, but he had some moments that cost him games. I remember when they played in Assembly Hall, and they were the number 1 team in the country, and they came down to the last play where they were down by probably 2 or 3 points, needed a basket, and he got caught in the air out of bounds, had to throw it away, or something happened. Basically, They turned the ball over, cost him the game. Those are plays he's not making anymore. He's cleaned his game up. He's increased his passing ability, and he's gone from being a good point guard to one of the best college basketball has ever seen. So we're seeing the first steps now.
Yeah. I was just sorry. I didn't mean to start cutting you off. Good. I thought you were at that point that you were done wrapping up. But if he stays on this pace, and you know what, 11 assists a night is going to be difficult. He's not going to maintain 11 assists more than likely. I guess anything's possible, but I'm going to say he's not going to average 11 assists a game. But he only needs to average about 8.5 a game to break the all-time assist record held by Bobby Hurley. And at 8.5, Purdue's got to make an extremely deep run into the tournament, and he'll break it sometime in that point. He averages 10. Good Lord, he'll break it before maybe the Big Ten tournament, Grant.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when you say 10 assists a game, yeah, that sounds like, ooh, how can you maintain that? When you think about it, like, he could have had 15 plus tonight. There are going to be games where he probably does have 15 plus because guys convert, and because he plays, instead of 30 minutes, he plays 35 to 40.
Right.
But if you have, 5 or 6 games at 15, they're going to help kind of cancel out the games where you maybe only have 5. And if you're consistently in that 8 to 12 range outside of that, it's not unreasonable to think that he could average 10 or 11. It just, when you think of it like 11 assists every night, it's like, no, he's going to have some games that don't reach that level.
Right.
But if he has games where he blows up for 15 or more, like, it's going to kind of balance out.
And you got to think, if he averages 10, that's only one less than the 11 that I just talked about. But that's like almost 40 assists less in a season because, that's one every game, and they're going to play roughly 40 games potentially in this season. That's a lot of assists that he's missing out on. But still, if he averages 10, that's going to get him well past Bobby Hurley, and it's going to be well before we even hit the NCAA tournament, I think.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting stat to watch for sure. Bottom line comes down for Braden. It's like he honestly doesn't care about the record. I think
absolutely
loves
not
to knock it out, but only if it's within the framework of winning basketball. So it's like, it's really fun to speculate, and I really want to see him break it. But like, ultimately, knowing it's not even really his goal, like, not that he wouldn't love to do it, but it's not really what he's focused on. And knowing that this team's driving for something bigger is pretty cool as well.
Well, and it's already almost pretty much a foregone conclusion. Things have happened, but it's almost a foregone conclusion that he's gonna pass. Winston, from Michigan State, and be the Big Ten's all-time leader. I mean, he's only got another 160 or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but it's really attainable. He doesn't have to average a lot. Yeah, he doesn't have to average a lot just to pass him. So definitely an exciting game to see, opening up against Evansville. It was easy. I mean, it was an 18-point game at the or a 19-point game at the half, and Purdue scores 42 in each half. So good job on that, and on being symmetrical on that aspect. It was good to see them working some things out. Our center position with Jacobson and Clough, 20 points, 18 rebounds. That's a good as a combination. I don't think you can go. I mean, there's going to be games where one of them scores 20, 25 points, depending on the night. But yeah, I think if you can get production like that, where they combine to where they have 15 and maybe 15 points, 12 rebounds, maybe even 12 points, 15 rebounds, flop it, that's what you're hoping to get from your center.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much more challenging it becomes to maintain those numbers when TKR is in the game. But yeah, I think adjusting it more for like between 10 and 15 points, trying to get 10 to 15 rebounds as well. If they can both combine for a double-double, I think we're all right. And that's assuming TKR gets his 20 and 6 or whatever it is that we've kind of become accustomed to him getting.
Right.
So,
well, good way to start the season. And like I said at the beginning of the show, it just keeps coming quick because tonight Purdue tips off against Oakland, 7 p.m. on Peacock, 7 p.m. Eastern on Peacock. The Grizzlies come into Mackey. Grant, they're not the same team that played and beat Kentucky in the tournament. What was it, 3 years ago? That's just not who they're not going to keep repeating with that type of talent. But you never want to just assume. Oakland comes in to play the Boilermakers, and right now, a 1.1% chance to beat the number one team in the country.
Yeah, that feels about right, if not too high. But at the same time, I don't want to say that and you end up with something crazy because this Oakland team's not bad. I know the Michigan game, the score didn't show it. But actually, I think a lot of that had to do with Michigan just being really good. Because Oakland, from spots 2 through 4, not the 1, not the 5, 2 through 4, they have pretty nice positional size. I think they have like 2
Mhm.
6'6" guards and then a 6'8" forward at the 4. And then their center is 6'8" and their point guard's 5'11". So Braden Smith's actually going to have a size advantage for however long that 5'11" guy plays, which he's the guy who starts for him. And they say 5'11", but like
He's probably
he
a
looks
lot
pretty
shorter.
short. Yeah, like Braden
I
is
w-
definitely
I
taller than him because Braden's listed at
and
what 6 foot,
he's listed at 6 foot,
6'1"
but I
maybe.
will tell you that is not accurate.
Yeah,
Because I'm not 6 foot, but yet I've stood next to Braden Smith, and I'm almost, if not just a little bit taller than him.
yeah, but I think the Oakland point guard probably is doing the same thing. I don't think he's
Oh,
really 5'11".
I agree.
He looked
I
small
agree.
when I looked at his highlights against Michigan. Like, and maybe part of it's just
Yeah.
because he's also just not very big. But like, I think Braden definitely will be a little bit taller than him. So that's probably a
Yeah.
rarity
I
to
don't
see Braden
disagree.
Smith have a size advantage as a point guard. But
Right.
we should see that Friday. And then, of course, 6'8" as the starting center for Oakland. They're obviously going to be giving up a lot of inches to Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson. So it'll be interesting to see how Purdue takes advantage of that. But those middle spots, 2 through 4, where you have 6'6", 6'6", 6'8", that will also be fun to see how, Fletcher Loyer handles that. How, whoever plays at the 4, whether it's Benter or TKR, like they're going to have a decent body in there to contend with. So, yeah, going to be interesting matchups.
Another couple of gentlemen from Australia on this roster. Nate Deer, 6'10". He's a senior. He's from Adelaide, Australia. And then Taburo, yeah, I'm not even Naivaru. Oh gosh, Larua,
Um,
Larua.
Naiva
Yeah,
maybe. Naiva
he's from Sydney, Australia. So Oscar Clough, first couple of games this week, gets immersed against some teams that have some Aussies on their team with them.
Yeah, I don't, like part of me is like, how has this kind of happened? Because I feel like you never hear somebody from Australia, and now
Right.
you've got 5 of them in 2 games.
You know what it is. You know what it is, Grant. It's like after you get a new car and you've never had
Yeah,
that car before, then all of a sudden you start seeing them all over the place.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, I bet.
So now that
There's
we've
probably a
had
little
an
bit of truth to
Australian
that.
on our roster, we're seeing them all over.
Yeah, you're not entirely wrong, I bet. But yeah, so.
But there's not a lot to preview. I mean, the Purdue needs to keep it clean. They need to keep working on maintaining their at rim defense, their presence at the rim defensively. If TKR plays today, getting him into a rhythm with the big men that are in there at the time, maybe different things that Coach Painter wants to work on. Now, there you still have the goal of winning the basketball game, absolutely, but there are times you can start working on some things as well while you're in game, and I really think that that rim presence, that rim protection, rim presence, and being the big men can work on getting better, getting in positions, getting ready for a much more difficult schedule coming up.
Yeah, there's
Excuse me.
probably 2 big things that I would be looking for in this game, especially if TKR plays, because one of them is, we saw Jacobson and Clough look better. Both of them looked pretty good in the game against Evansville, but they also didn't have to do it with TKR. So if TKR comes back in, are we going to see some of that, just is it going to flow better than it did in the exhibition games, or are we going to get back to some of that just difficult combinations of how these players are going together? Like that's something they've got to figure out, especially going into Tuscaloosa on Thursday. Like if they're going to reach their ceiling, they have to be able to work well together. So how does that play out, assuming TKR plays today? The other thing is rebounding. 20 offensive rebounds to Evansville is pretty inexcusable, and we've got to see a better effort than that on Friday. And I'm sure Coach Painter has all addressed that throughout this period in between games about the rebounding. So I'd be surprised if we don't see Purdue come out with a concerted emphasis on that defensive glass for this Oakland game, but we've got to see it actually take place. So those are kind of my two big things for this game. Because like you said, the competition's not at the level that it's going to be on Thursday. And so there are certain things that Purdue's going to be able to do simply because they're bigger and more talented. And it's, there's just a discrepancy in skill.
Well, that was one of the first things that Coach Painter said in the the post game press conference too, was about the rebounding. You can't give up this many rebounds, and they ended up, Purdue ended up being tied 40-40 on the rebounds, but they shouldn't have been, and a lot of those, and we talked about that on post game, is not a ton of them, but some of those came later in the game to where those long threes come off and they take odd bounces and they end up in no man's land or more towards the offense. But there were before that, it was still too close than it should have been, especially with the height difference and the height advantage that the Boilers had. So that's definitely concern. It's probably one of my main concerns, that that all kind of goes together with the rim presence, for me.
Well, and
you're absolutely right.
And look at this. Evansville goes 21 of 70 from the field. That's 49 right. Missed shots. Purdue goes 28 of 59. That's 31. There's 18 more shots that Evansville missed than Purdue. In my book, that means Purdue probably should be out rebounding Evansville by about 18, and instead it was tied. Mm-hmm. That tells you how many offensive rebounds Evansville was getting. And obviously they get more shots when they get an offensive rebound and then can shoot again. But that tells you that Purdue should naturally be out rebounding Evansville when they are missing a lot less shots and making a lot more shots. So to tie really is kind of a loss. It means Evansville rebounded better than Purdue, even though the number itself says it's a tie.
Well, it's simple then. The Boilers need to do better. That, to put it blatantly, just plain simple, like you said, it should have had at the very least 12 to 15 more in that. You can see a few going the other way, but even if they would have won by 5 rebounds, you're like, they should have had more than that. Just the sheer size, because you know what? While he's not a horrible rebounder, TKR is not a rebounder. Right. He's capable of, but he's not a rebounder. That's why Oscar Clough came in, or they brought him in to be a rebounder. That's why we're happy that Jacobson's back, because he can be a rebounder. They're playing, so it's not concern yet. It's let's keep working at this and let's do better. It's definitely not a hit the panic button or anything by any means.
Yeah, I feel like in the past too, you've talked about the zone rebounding and how PKR being at the 4 can help him actually be a better rebounder.
Yeah.
Because he's not having to do it at the 5. And I hope that turns out to be true. I'm not sure that we saw it much in the first 2 exhibition games, but he didn't rebound poorly necessarily, just not anything crazy. And just because he rebounds well for his position and for his zone doesn't mean he's going to have 10 rebounds a game.
No.
So, but I do think having TKR there will help. Jack Benter, just naturally because of his size compared to TKR, probably isn't going to rebound as well. So I think TKR helped, but like you said, Clough and Jacobson rebounded well. 18 rebounds combined is pretty good. Really, it's those guards too. It's the 1 through 3, even the 4 spot. Everybody has to rebound well. Mm-hmm. That's especially how you're going to get those longer rebounds, because we talk about how guys who take long jump shots miss some of the long rebounds. We talk about that like it's excusable, but at the end of the day, you got to get those rebounds too, because you're going to play good teams. They're going to take deep shots from 3, and they're either going to make them or they're going to rebound them. And once you get an offensive rebound, just a lot easier to score because that defense isn't set. Everyone's trying to fly around and play catch up. You can get open threes. You can find yourself open in the paint. So ultimately, even if it's long, you got to find a way to get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of cleanup on 3 rebounding. Not to say there aren't long rebounds off the threes. There are, but like a lot of times an offensive rebound's coming right around the hoop. You mentioned, the guards need to rebound. Braden Smith only had 2 rebounds. I know I say only had 2, and he's, we were just talking that he might be 6 foot tall. But the point being is he averages like almost 5.5 from last year. So he was under his average. Granted, he only played 30 minutes. He didn't need them. But, can you imagine if Purdue would have out-rebounded these guys by 15? It would have been a 70-point win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It just because you would have eliminated some of the points they got on those second chances, and Purdue's scoring on some. So you could have had at least a 55-point win. I mean, it really could have been a huge, huge blowout, even more than the 31 that it turned out to be. But my biggest thing is, we need to clean up some things against Oakland tonight because, again, anything can happen, but I'm not anticipating it. Their first real big test comes next week.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa going to be rocking. Alabama just has some physical players, some guys that are gonna
Nate Oates is a good coach.
Purdue. Yeah. And so if Purdue isn't if they haven't shored up these things, Alabama knows how to take advantage of them.
Sure does.
And they're gonna do it. And this year, Purdue doesn't have Mackey Arena behind them for this game to kind of help carry them. Like last year, that was certainly a huge help.
Sure.
But this year, they're gonna have to kind of bring the intensity and the fire themselves, which I'm sure they will. But if they don't actually figure out how to shore these things up and be the number 1 team in the country, then it's going to be a dogfight. And it's probably going to be a dogfight either way, but you want to go in there playing your best basketball.
Well, and I think something they need to do tonight too is to keep up on the keeping the ball safe. They turn the ball over less than 10 times against Evansville. If they can keep it under 10 again against Oakland, meaning they're just they're making the best of their possessions. They're not doing silly things, and being frivolous with it and turning the ball over. That bodes well going into a raucous environment as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point because Purdue has had some turnover issues in the past, even going back to the Zach Edey years that really killed them. So far, we haven't seen anything crazy, I don't think, even with the Kentucky game. Like, they didn't turn it over that many times.
They just didn't convert on shots.
Right. Yeah, that. And Matt Painter talks about turnovers and rebounding. If you win both of those battles, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Turnovers have been down, but rebounding's now the one that's it's been a little more iffy. But, yeah, if they get that tandem down, they're looking really good.
Yep. Well, it's going to be fun to watch game number 2 tonight, Grant. 7 p.m. Eastern on Peacock. The Oakland Grizzlies come into Mackey Arena to take on the Boilermakers, the number 1 team in all of the land. And I anticipate right now, like I said, a 1.1% chance that Oakland wins this game. But I do believe the over under is it's a 30 point. Yeah, 30.5. Purdue is a 30.5 point favorite. I don't know that they cover. They very well could. But
I mean,
it's but you don't. I'm not a betting man. Truly, I'm not. But even though I have placed my first sports bet, and it is on the Boilermakers for this season, but that's because I'm a glutton for punishment. But my point being is I wouldn't bet on it, but there are people that do, and if you're good at it, God bless you. You're wonderful. But
I mean,
that brings us.
That just feels like such a crazy one to bet on because once you're up by 30, you're not even necessarily trying to keep it going as far as putting your best players in. So I would never bet on a spread like that. But
if you're betting on a Purdue Oakland basketball game, not too sure about your life choices, but you do you. I just I'm not gonna. But but that brings us to the end of this Friday's Boilermaker Lounge, episode 2 of the regular season, because game 2 of the regular season is coming up tonight, 7 p.m. Peacock, 7 p.m. Eastern on the on Peacock. The streaming service. A lot of people unhappy with that. I have Peacock, but it's only because I like watching certain shows that were on NBC while I work. So I pay for Peacock just so I don't have, I can watch certain ones like The Office and a couple of others that are, you have to pay for in order to get them to watch them. The perk to that is I get the Big Ten package coming with it too. So really nice on that. But next week, only one game, but we will do 2 shows. We'll do a Tuesday, Friday show. We'll have an Oakland reaction response, to that. Preview the Alabama game, which comes Thursday, and then we'll have a show for Friday on that for a reaction, and we'll go into the weekend. There's a game against Akron on Sunday, so we will also preview that on Friday. So it's basketball season. It keeps coming. There are going to be 3-game weeks, I know, but this next coming week we only got 1 technically, but it will be a fun one.
Yeah, sure will. Looking forward to it, without a doubt.
All right, for Grant Flora, I'm Sam Sprunger. See you on Tuesday.